This is part one of our hike down Havasu, where of course we see Havasu Falls, spectacular sight to see. We also hiked through the caves down to Mooney Falls, a 200-foot waterfall, spectacular, and on downstream through the grapevines as we head to Beaver Falls. So join our group of 5 as we hike Havasu and see the spectacular scenery. But first, we had to stop for food in Prescott, where Richard saw that giant Gila monster. And then we checked into our hotel in the Grand Canyon Caverns Inn. It's an interesting place. They've got a museum there with old artifacts, such as this old phone, like the one I used to use when I grew up. I guess we truly are old guys. But it's an interesting place to stay, and it's the closest place to the hilltop in Havasu. So we go there the night before our reservation so we can get an early start in the morning. Our group of 5 included myself, Kelly, my brothers Richard and Calvin's son, Calvin.
Oh, I'm taking a video. Say something, Jer.
Oh, it's taking a video. That's Kelly.
The washroom's closed.
Shut it off! As you can see, their video skills haven't improved. But we had a nice dinner the night before so we could get up and have an early start the next morning and reach the hilltop. And, of course, there's a line of cars. But we have officially started. Well, we're doing it. Hiking Havasu. Just started out. I'm already tired. But that's the hike. You look up there, that's Richard. Kelly's right behind him. And Calvin are probably already down. The mule trains are a common sight going up and down the canyon, and you just step to the side so they can pass. There's Kelly and Richard.
No commentary yet.
This is Kelly Paul.
Oh no.
We've started the hike.
Jello legs already.
And how far have we gone?
100 yards?
We've gone farther than that, but feels like about 5 miles already.
Yes, it does. That's
a silhouette of Richard in the distance. And I forgot to mention, at the Grand Canyon Caverns Inn is where we all got our wristbands the night before. I've had an injured leg for the last couple months, but I've completed this hike at least 6 times before and assumed I could probably go a mile every half hour and that it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But as my mom used to say, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Having a hurt leg and being out of shape made this the toughest hike I've ever done. Clint Eastwood, as Dirty Harry, said a man's got to know his limitations. As I lay there, I was just waiting to float up to heaven, 'cause I was dying. But I kept on moving. Because quite honestly, you have no options, and it's harder to go back up than continue forward. But the slower you go, the longer you're in the heat, and the longer you carry a heavy pack. Well, this is the hike. It's deserty most of the way till you get down there. And even though we're a party of 5, I don't think I'll see any of our group till I get down there. The Calvins went ahead about an hour and a half before us and are going to get a campsite. And lost Kelly and Richard about a mile into the trek. And I'm kind of limping along on my bad leg, but I'll make it. Okay, Richard, where are we at?
We're in Havasupai Canyon. We're almost to the Havasupai River and the village, and then on to the campground.
And how come you have such a little pack there?
Because I was smarter than Jerry. Jerry's got like a 38-pound pack, and mine is about 2 pounds. But I already went down and dropped my pack off.
That's it. He went down and came back to rescue me with my bad leg. Yeah, my 72-year-old brother came back to make sure I was okay and offered to carry my pack, which I refused because it was my responsibility. And we're almost to the bridge. Richard hiked from the top to the bridge in 2.5 hours. And that's the bridge that we're referring to. We've finally made it to the village, or at least close. We stopped in the store in the village for cold Gatorade. Of course, I took a break, but Richard stayed with me the whole time as I turned a 5-hour hike into a 9-hour hike. And this would be past the village as you get to Little Navajo Falls and 50-Foot Falls. But I wasn't in any way, shape, or form ready to hike down to go see them. I just had my mind set on the campsite that's 2 miles past the village. But you do go by these falls. This is Little Navajo Falls a few years ago when I hiked the Grand Canyon. But on this trip, the closest I got to 50-Foot Falls and Little Navajo Falls was from the trail. The theme for me on this hike was a man's gotta know his limitations. And I knew I'd never make it down to Little Navajo Falls or 50-Foot Falls. I just needed to make it down to the campsite. Did you know that Havasu means people of the blue-green water? And that the Supai village is considered the most remote settlement in the continental United States. Right above Havasu Falls is now a fry bread stand, though the hours are very inconsistent. The campsites start just below Havasu Falls, so I've made it through the entire trail. Now all we have to do is find our campsite and the 2 Calvins and Kelly. You can tell from this photo I'm about dead, but it's a beautiful sight to see Havasu Falls, and it's good to know I've almost made it. Okay, I'm here with Calvin.
We're here at Fern Springs where you get water coming right out of the side of the mountain. This is water that's clean enough that you don't have to purify it before drinking it.
And that's what we've always drank.
Oh, this is
And
yeah, this is Fern Springs.
there's Kelly Paul.
And to tell you the truth,
Okay, we're setting up tents,
but no,
and Calvin's helping set mine up.
And then, we wanted to see if it would
Kelly's over there working by himself. Okay, we are down here at Havasu. This is our fearless group. And first off,
Good. Go there.
to CT. What do you have to say?
let's take a walk. I have to say that I'm impressed how fit Kelly is because of all of the pickleball he plays in the full sun.
Do you have a response to that, Kelly?
I play pickleball in the full sun. I'm owning it.
And here's the person that's really in shape.
Yeah.
I am really impressed with Kelly because he plays pickleball in the sun.
You know, here we got me
Throw
that
the knee.
has a bad leg.
Hang on, I'll video you.
Nah,
No, come on.
we got the other old guy here who broke his neck, had half his internal organs removed. We got a 72-year-old guy, show him your fingers, with arthritis in all his hands. We got a 70-year-old guy
With a new hip.
that got a hip replacement a year and a half ago. And then we got a young punk that's
Not
a
even
college
40 yet.
half marathon national championship. So how are we to compete? But who did the best hiking down? The old 72-year-old guy.
True.
The next morning, everyone decided they'd hike down to Beaver Falls. I figured I'd go as far as Mooney Falls, but I wasn't up for an 8-mile round-trip hike. And I figured just a hike going down the falls 200 feet would be more than enough for me. Then I'd find a nice place to rest. You can barely see. There's the trail we'll be hiking down. I'm hiking down to Mooney Falls, going through the tunnels to get there. And when you look out, there it is. The hike down to Mooney Falls encompasses a series of stairs, ladders, and chains. There's Kelly navigating the final section. If you want to see more of this hike, watch part 2. I'll have a lot more detail. I should mention that the mist from the falls makes everything wet and often coated with mud, adding for a little more excitement. That was looking at the ladder of an old uranium mine. Kelly is going to attempt to connect these 9 dots with 4 lines without lifting up his stick.
And every dot has to be connected.
And he has to cover all 9 dots. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm stuck. Calvin, show us. You do it.
Tell me when you think you're going to try it, Kelly.
Well,
Make a move.
all right, I'll just make a move. There's
Okay,
one
he went
line.
through the middle. He's got 3 of the lines.
I just did it.
Okay, now
actually
he's
pretty
going
simple.
down.
2.
That's 2 lines.
You
No,
can't
I
go
already
back.
blew it. No, I know.
You have
Yeah,
to keep
you go
going.
from
And
there.
this would be
3 lines,
3, and that would be 4, but I missed
and he
one.
missed one. Now Calvin will show us how it's done. There's 1 line. There's 2 lines. 3 lines.
Missed one.
He missed
Oh,
one.
Here,
Yep, and then down through the middle.
and then there. Sorry.
So he messed it up.
So
but-
the lines don't need to be contained within the parameter of the dot.
And that's the key. You got to think outside the box.
Yep.
There's a series of water crossings between Mooney Falls and Beaver Falls. And it's about a 3-mile hike. So depending where you started from the camp, a 7-mile round trip. I decided I'd stop at this nice scenic spot. But then Kelly yelled, "Oh, it's beautiful up here." On the trail to Beaver Falls. And what is it? Just covered with grapevines everywhere you look. Just spectacular. Little trail cut through here. Canyon walls. I tell you, even if you don't make it to Beaver Falls, go a little bit beyond Mooney Falls, and there's still some spectacular scenery, and no one else down here, so that makes it good. Following the trail, thick with grapevines, cliff walls straight up. So, I'm even hiking in the shade. Kelly's up here ahead somewhere, and the others are putting their shoes on. CT lost the sole of his shoe at Mooney Falls and had to return to get a new pair, but you see, he caught up to us. Here's some of the ladders. Scramble as we head to Beaver Falls. Yep, once I made it that far, I was over halfway. I figured I might as well go the rest of the way. And the Relaxing in the cold water was refreshing and kind of revived my leg. And there it is, Beaver Falls. This is Beaver Falls. What you can't really see here is up above the waterfalls. We relaxed and swam in the first couple pools, and then it was time to head back all the way to Mooney and then up the side of the wall back to our camp. The light was a little different on Mooney Falls. Took a few more pictures. There's the ladder, Calvin, starting up. He had to wait on the side of the cliff for the people coming down, but he eventually made it up. Just a spectacular climb. There's Richard, and then we head back to camp. And how do we find Kelly? And I found Kelly's natural state in the wild.
In my usual position.
We missed you at Beaver Falls.
I was there.
I know, you were out of there by the time I got there.
Oh, I was so worried. I'm worse than I was yesterday.
After a good night's rest, I woke up and found this little king snake. Unfortunately, by the time I grabbed my camera, it crawled down this hole. So all I got were a couple pictures as it was hiding away. But a cool find. Taking a video. There's Richard, Calvin's tent, Richard's tent, my tent. There are several of these composting restrooms located along the campsite, so hopefully there's one close by. Of course, the creek runs through the campsite and is just spectacular to look at. And that morning we decided to take it easy and just spend time at Havasu Falls. What'd Kelly do there? Well, you guessed it. There's Calvin and CT. Calvin by himself. But it's just a spectacular sight. It's not quite the same as it was many years ago when all the limestone formations were still there, but it's still a spectacular sight to see. There's Richard, there's me back at the side of the waterfall. Cool, refreshing water. Stays about a constant 70 degrees. And then the next day we head out. There's a table with everything people left that they didn't want to carry out. So check there if you need some sunscreen. That was my last picture of Havasu Falls. And there's Richard and Kelly hiking back to the village. And while Calvin and CT left early, they saw this in the dark. We got to see some of these things in the morning. They were hiking all the way out, and Kelly and I knew, well, we don't want to hike all the way out, so we'll take the helicopter. We're almost back to Supai Village, and Richard is masked up. This is where you catch the helicopter, and, well, there's no real rhyme or reason. That's the helicopter taking our bags. Basically, it sounds like you need to be there about 9 o'clock. And that's a picture of Kelly flying out. Unfortunately, he was on a different helicopter than me. And then I got on a helicopter, and then Richard got the next one. This is actually a video as I flew out in the helicopter. But as I was saying, we showed up. We were told you should get there early, so we got there about 7:30. Got in line. Weren't many people ahead of us, but the guy signed a few people up on a list. Then he went and got the hose and sprayed down the grounds, and everyone scattered as he sprayed us with water. Then we kind of reformed the line, kept waiting. Eventually, We got signed up on the list, but he wouldn't take our money, so we had to wait around longer, and eventually took our $100, and then they came and took our bags, and then after, I don't know what it was, about 7, 8 hours, we actually got on the helicopter. So even though we waited there a long time, it was still a whole lot better than if I'd tried hiking out of there. And we got to meet a lot of different people and hear some interesting stories, including the girl, the two hikers carried her up there because she'd broken her leg. And I guess during COVID, she had had a reservation that obviously got canceled, moved back a couple years with her fiance. They were going to hike Havasu. Well, in the meantime, he passed away, and she was determined that she was going to do it on her own. What happened? She hiked it on her own and broke her leg. A couple guys carried her out, and I guess once the helicopter got to the hilltop, some people from Vegas were going to meet her and pick her up. But what a sad memory. At any rate, this is the hike of Havasupai. The helicopter's almost to the top, and it only takes, I don't know, about 5 minutes or so to get you there. Here's a picture of me in the helicopter, and here's the helicopter as it reaches the hilltop. You can actually see a crashed car down below there, but there's the parking for the hilltop. No sleeping on top like we used to when we'd sleep on top, hike down, hike out in the same day. And when I got to the top, there's Kelly doing what he does best. And the next helicopter, it was time for Richard. So this is Richard flying in on the helicopter. Even though he would got back quicker hiking out, this was his first ever helicopter ride, so he didn't mind it so much. And since he was driving with me, he didn't have much of a choice. Calvin and CT drove together, so they were in a separate car, and they actually got home, hiked out, and drove home before we even got on the helicopter. But I hope you enjoyed this little tour of our hike at Havasupai, and watch the next video to see more detail of the waterfalls and the hike between them. Bye.